Mm-hmm. And how many buttons are on her vest?
3.
What about the flower? Mm-hmm. And how many bows on her head?
1.
Mm-hmm. We have 1 shoe. How many are left?
Oh, yeah. I saw that, Bear. Carla had her. They were dancing together and playing together. And then when it was time for color, she sat Mrs. Barrington down next to the table. You know Carla, right? She's wearing a headband with 10 butterflies on it. But I don't think you're going to find her in time for snack. And you know that Mrs. Yolanda doesn't like it when we're not in circle on time.
You know Mrs. Yolanda doesn't like when we eat snack and it's not time.
Besides, it's just a bear. Tell your mommy and daddy to buy you another one.
No, Carter, don't say that. Mrs. Barrington is special, and Tiffany loves her. Besides, my daddy said to never give up, and that would be quitting.
But you don't have enough time. And if you're late, that means you're not listening. And Miss Yolanda won't let you be classroom helper anymore. Don't you think that they should give up? I mean, at least for right now.
No way!
Well, I think they should.
Carter, did you get into my snack again?
Uh-oh. Bye.
Maybe he's right. We don't have enough time, and Miss Yolanda will be sad. We're gonna let her down.
Tiffany, don't listen to him. We can find her and make it to circle on time for snack. We can do this, right? Right?
We need to find Carla. She's our next clue. Can you help us find Carla? How many butterflies are we looking for? 10. Who is Carla? Hi, I'm Carla. Hi, Carla. I'm Leah, and this is my team of detectives. Tiffany lost her bear, Mrs. Barrington, and we're helping to find her. Have you seen her? Oh, is she wearing one purple bow and one shiny black shoe? Yes, I saw Mrs. Barrington. We played and danced together. Do you know where she is now? Yes, when Miss Yolanda said it was coloring time, I put her in the second toy bin against that wall. I knew she would be safe there.
Thanks, Carla.
Bye. Kids, it's 9:15. Don't be late.
Okay. Do you remember which toy bin we should look in?
2.
Right. The second one. Will you help me count? 1, 2. We found another shoe.
No! Come on, she's supposed to be here. Why isn't she here? Maybe Carter was right. Now we're going to be late. I thought we could do this, but if we're late to the circle, Miss Yolanda might not give us our snack. I don't want to lose snack. I won't be student helper anymore. Nobody will ask me to help them find things anymore. And my dad will be...
Leah, Katie always quits. Why are you listening to him? You don't give up. Besides, you're one of the world's best detectives. Remember what your dad always says.
I'm smart, unique, and can't be beat. But why can't we find her, Millie? We're running out of time. Everyone's going to be late to the circle because of me. I won't be classroom helper anymore, and my dad will be disappointed in me. Plus, Tiffany will be sad, and nobody will ask me to help him again.
No, Tiffany won't, because we're going to find her. Detective, what's our most important rule?
We never quit.
That's right, we never quit. Listen, one of the reasons you're special is because of how hard you try. And your dad knows that. Miss Yolanda knows that. All your friends know that. That's why they always ask for your help, because they know you'll try your best. Keep trying. Mrs. Barrington is here, and you're going to find her. One more time. Let's remind Rhea of our most important rule.
We never quit.
Great job.
We never quit. I never quit. You're right, Millie. I'm sorry. We can do this. We can find Mrs. Barrington. I should go talk to Tiffany. Will you come with me? Tiffany, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have listened to Carter. We can't quit now.
Oh, I don't know.
Tiffany, we can do this. It's like my daddy always says. If you lose your favorite toy, never give up. When you try to fix what's broke, never give up. When everything you need isn't always there, never give up. Don't quit. We can do this, right? We can find Mrs. Barrington. Can you help make Tiffany feel better? Repeat after me. Tiffany.
Tiffany,
We can do this.
we can do this.
One more time. Tiffany.
Tiffany,
We can do this.
we can do this.
Okay, I don't want to give up. Let's keep looking. Great, Tiffany. I knew you wouldn't quit. I know we can find her. Thank you for helping Tiffany feel better. Now, let's think of some other places she could be. We know she's here.
And we have both her shoes.
Let's keep looking.
Hey, detective. I got a secret. You want to hear it? I think I know where Mrs. Barrington is.
Yeah!
Should I give them their final clue? Okay. Maria, over here. Hey, Rhea.
Hey,
I think I know where Barrington might be.
tell me, Millie, tell me.
Okay, but you have to listen carefully. I have a few clues for you, and if you figure out the answers, you will find Mrs. Barrington. Are you ready?
Yes.
1. When you open this, it will lead to another room. 2. What's a symbol that shows someone is happy? 3. RJ's favorite color. Put all 3 clues together and you will find Mrs. Barrington. Good luck. Oh, and remember what your dad always says. No quitting. Oh, it's 5 minutes left till circle. Go!
Millie gave me clues.
You mean the fish?
Yeah.
She said the answers will lead us to Mrs. Barrington.
But why didn't she just tell you where she was in the first place?
Not now, RJ. Let's figure this out.
Okay. What were these clues?
Do you remember? When you go through this, it leads to another room. What could that be? A door! Right. And her next clue, a sign that shows you are happy. What do you think? A smile. You're so good at this. And her last clue, RJ's favorite color. RJ, what's your favorite color?
Oh, it's cerulean. You know, it's a shade of blue.
So blue?
No, cerulean. Light and medium shades of turquoise with hints of
Okay, so blue. A door with something that is blue that has a smile on it.
Look, there are 3 doors. And that one has blue smiley faces on it. Do you think Mrs. Barrington's in there?
I hope so. We're almost out of time. Okay.
Hey, kids! Oh, Tiffany, I have your bear. Oh, she's missing her shoes, though.
I'm so glad you didn't let me quit. I wouldn't have found her without you.
Well, we did it. Another satisfied client and another case solved. And we didn't give up, even when it got really, really hard.
Millie, if you thought you knew where she was, why didn't you just tell us?
Rhea, you are smart, unique, and can't be beat. You don't quit. I knew that if you kept looking, you would find Mrs. Barrington. And I was right. Hey, do we give up? No, we don't. Oh, you guys are great today. You know why? Because you helped Rhea and RJ solve the case and you didn't quit. Remember, even when it seems really hard, keep trying. Don't give up, okay? See you later.
Millie's right. Thank you for helping us solve our case. And always remember what my daddy says, you are special and you are destined for great things. And even if it seems really hard, never give up. RJ, Rhea, supper time. Rhea, I need you to help me pass out snacks. Let's go.
With mommy and daddy, I start out my day. With mommy and daddy, nothing gets in my way. Daddy likes my hair up high, mommy sees my curious eyes. And when we're on our way, this is what they say. If something is hard, never give up. If something is tough, never give up. When you can't find an answer, never give up. Never give up. Don't quit. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Never give up. Don't quit. When you lose your favorite toy, never give up. When you try to fix what's broke, never give up. When everything you need isn't always there, never give up. Don't quit. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Keep on trying. Never give up. Don't quit.
Congratulations to you and Damascus Theater Company for another outstanding performance. Rhea, the great detective, and the case of missing
Miss
Barrington. There it is.
Barrington.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
It is. We need to talk to Dominique about that.
And we will. There were times when I just laughed out loud. So I have no doubt that the children are enjoying this as they have an opportunity to watch it in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and in points beyond. And yeah, without further ado, let's bring Miss Dominique Dobson-Briggs on. Would you go ahead and introduce her?
I certainly will. Dominique is an actress, an author, a wonderful mother, and creative force. I can talk about the numerous shows that she's done in Pittsburgh, but she has also just acted in films that have been circulated globally. And so I'm trying to find her, all of the information about her that I have. I usually am queued up and ready to go, but what I will share for sure is that she has a passion for young people and education. She currently works for the University of Pittsburgh. She is starring in a show that is soon to open at the New Hazard Theater in Pittsburgh. I believe this is her first book that she has authored, but I am certain that there will be many others along the way that will be published. She has a version of this production that was recently drafted and enacted at the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, which was another immersive experience that young people were able to have here in Pittsburgh. And this partnership with Pittsburgh Public Schools looks like it will blossom into future versions of Rhea the Great that will be able to be available for young people who are in the early childhood age range. I'm going to sing her praises even more, but without further ado, I'm glad that she is here. The mind that brought you the color cerulean. She is here with us. Dominique Brooks.
Dominique, congratulations. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Girl, that was really, really, really enjoyable. And as your fellow producer, I know how much hard work you and Shonda and the entire team had to put into this production. So how do you feel now that it's in the world?
It is honestly a dream come true. I remember when me and Shonda, when she first came back to Pittsburgh, and we met at a bagel shop here in the city, and she was like, "What are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, just a few things here and there. I wrote a book, a children's book. I just had my daughter, and I just was, wanted to write a children's book that I could read to her and she saw herself in, and this was, my thought about it." And she was like, "Oh my God, we should definitely do something together, and you could turn this into a show, and it could be, a musical of some sort, and we could travel with it, and there could be different versions of it." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And, and it just kind of, just so to see that what we talked about in that little bagel shop across the street from my job come to fruition on a screen is just amazing. So it's literally a dream come true.
Now tell me this, how many years ago was that conversation? And I ask because I think a lot of times people who are not creatives, who are not in the field, have no idea how long it will take to bring a project to pass. How many years ago was that conversation between the two of you?
What was it, like 2018 maybe?
If it was right when I came back, it was to Pittsburgh, it was around 17, 18.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was right when you came back. So when did you come back?
17.
17, yeah.
So we're talking.
So it's 21.
Yeah, so we're talking about 3 years to bring this to pass. And so much planning goes into a production. Can you talk about some of the planning you all had to undertake, and also why you opted to use adult actors for a children's project?
Sure. You want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yes. And then
Okay. So when we first started talking about this, our initial idea was this was supposed to be on a stage.
Okay.
So we wanted to, we had talked to some of the, we had budgeted this to be in a, little black box theater that was intimate for kids. Since it was immersive, if you could, what you saw, the thought was that the actors would be, really, they would be talking with the young people, and they would be, the audience would become detectives, and so they would be in and out of the audience, and it would just be a really immersive experience. So we wanted the theater space to be small and intimate, because we just really wanted them to feel like they were part of the production. So we had started talking to, theater companies, theater houses that had these types of spaces. I mean, we were really, trying to, I had written a script that was for a theater house, so it was all, it was for the theater. And then, COVID hit, and it just kind of derailed that whole thought process for the time being, because we had, started speaking with Pittsburgh Public Schools and had presented the idea, and then we couldn't go into the schools. So we had to rework the entire thought process because they still wanted a product. We had signed a contract with them. And so the script had to be rewritten for film. And I had never written a script for film. So it was just, we basically had to just rethink a lot of what we had initially proposed in our minds to get this on the ground. And not to say that we don't want to do the theater version of it, because we definitely still do. But for PPS, for this project, we had to really think about how we would do this so that we could still deliver a product that would, provide them our vision for what we had presented to them.
I would only add that there were ample opportunities for this entire thing not to come to fruition. Like God and our ancestors wanted this to take place, because the reality was it was very difficult, even beyond what we Dominique described in terms of COVID and all of these pieces. I had never translated or worked on a production that took a book to stage. Right, so we're talking about several transitions. We're taking a book to stage, then we're taking a theater stage script to film. Sometimes it takes decades for people to go from one to the other to the other. The budget, we didn't start with money in the coffers, so we had to figure out who was going to fund it. The reality is that often in theater, children's theater is not seen as professional theater. It's kind of this side thing, and so it's difficult to find funds when you're competing against mainstream theatrical companies for grants or to raise money. I think so. There was a time when we didn't have sufficient funds. Thank goodness a few partners stepped in, like the August Wilson Center for African American Culture. The budget increased because we went from, as Dominique said, a small black box thought to film. We had no clue what it took to crew up for a film, the lighting that had to be in place, all of the pieces that are necessary for something to translate. We did not use young people, to your earlier question, because it would have required more certification, increased budget, all of the pieces to have young people on the set with us that we were just not prepared for. And so I think that we went with adults feeling as though, when it is traditionally what we've seen when we see touring shows are adults playing children's roles, but also that if we wanted to engage young people, this was not the go around to try to do that when we were just trying to get it on its feet. We lost a director in the process. We had to hire another director because one director was not comfortable working in COVID, and there were all these things that were coming up as a part of that process. So thankfully, Okima Timor stepped in, who's a part of the Damascus Theater Collective, but has such a wealth of knowledge in the film industry. And she brought on an assistant director, Rocky Tatum, who was in Delaware. So Okima's in Brooklyn, Rocky Tatum's in Delaware. We were able to bring them in town and use a local crew and get it done.
Yeah, I think Okima's a perfect fit for the project. She also works in animation. I mean, she's just doing all sorts of things. You two amaze me for so many reasons, but also because both of you are actors. So you're actors, you're writers, you're now producers. Talk about the benefit of being an actor who writes and produces.
I'll let Dominique start, because she has a more robust acting career than I have, and so I'd like her to start.
So I'll speak to first the acting to writing piece. So I kind of just fell into writing just because I wanted something to have for my daughter that she saw herself like I said before, that she saw herself in, and that as I was reading it to her, not only did she see herself in it, but she saw herself, succeeding, that she saw herself being the not being the sidekick, because we so often, in the TV shows that we watch, the cartoons, the books that we read, the mainstream has, they call themselves gifting us with putting people that look like us in the stories, but we're usually the sidekick or the person that kind of helps lead the main character to the right decision, but we're never the main character that leads, that gets to the right decision. So I wanted her to see that we don't have to always be the sidekick, that we are strong enough to be the main character and to figure it out, and that we even if there is a time where we get frustrated and we get upset about something, that if we don't give up, that we can push forward and win. And so that was very important for me to present to her. So that's kind of how I fell into writing, because I just, it's kind of one of those things. Well, I'm not going to just kind of complain about it. Then fine, I'll write it for her, and it might not be the best, it might not be the most amazing story, but it's something for her. It's my attempt at getting out an idea that I have that she will enjoy and be and hopefully fulfill my thoughts as to getting that, fulfilling that the purpose that I had in my mind for the story.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. So now moving from actor to producer, as an actor, I'm so used to all of the production stuff already being done, and somebody just handing me a script and saying, go out on stage and act, girl, just act, do it,
right,
just go do it. So this was the first time that I had the opportunity really to see all of the behind the scenes stuff that needed to be done to make a project successful. And I was like, oh my God, like it just gave me like the sympathy to because even now I'm in a show that's going up. This is our opening week coming up, and I listen to everything that has to go in, and it just gives me a new appreciation and understanding for everything that they're for everything that they're doing behind the scenes, that now I know that's happening that I didn't know before. Whereas before, I might be like, why is this taking so long? Or what's happening here? Or now I'm like, no, I understand it. I get it. Let's breathe, give it space, because they got a lot going on and they're just trying to make it work for, there's an appreciation that I didn't have for production, because now I lived it and I understand. And so, that it's being a producer is not for everyone. It's hard. It is really hard. But I will say that as an actor, it has, like I said, it has given me a totally different appreciation for the process for bringing art to life for people, outside of just being the actor who does something for someone on stage or who does something for someone on film. There's so many different pieces to it.
Shonda, before you chime in, I want to go back to Dominique's earlier remarks, because you talked about centering your daughter, and you talk about how the industry often will throw us in as sidekicks or the magical Negro. That's a whole concept that we have to overcome. And I know in both of your works, particularly Shonda's work, you have always been about centering the African-American story and the African-American culture. So I just want to inject that before you go ahead and give us your feedback.
I mean, I think it is a travesty not to center things that are relative to your lived experience, right? We live in a day and age where we're constantly telling people the best source is to go to the people who live the experience. And for so long, our stories were co-opted. They were told by other people. We told them, but then somehow someone else got hold of it. And I think that at the end of the line in common with Dominique is when you don't see it, you do it for yourself. So I started, you were right, as an actress. As in undergraduate school, I did a lot of main stage productions. So I was doing well at Dartmouth, but what I got tired of being was the conjurer or the nurse, some exotic person or a sidekick or the things that people felt comfortable with. And I'm not saying I was the best actress on the campus, but there was never an inkling in my mind that I was going to be able to be Juliet. There was never an inkling in my mind that I was going to be able to play the lead in anything. And so I don't fully blame that on anyone necessarily at Dartmouth. I also just blame it on society, right? That's the way we're raised. It's what you see. Thank God for television shows growing up that shifted that dynamic, for us, a different world, or for my generation, or, different shows I could name. But the reality is it was still, you knew you were seeing something special. It wasn't the norm, right? And so, for me, I ended up producing and going to Yale School of Drama because it was like, well, who's going to tell the story? I have to tell it, right? And I think that's like a poem that I often lift up by Langston Hughes. It's a note on commercial theater, and it says, like, you've taken our blues and you've gone, you sing them in swing Mikados, you do this. Well, who's going to tell the story of me, Black like me? Like, I guess it'll be me, right? And so I think that has always resonated, and not to mention the impact of having a convening on Golden Pond of Antizaki Shange, August Wilson, all these people who came to Dartmouth when I was a student, and I was able to learn early on, like, oh, let's skip past the part where I'm rejected in the industry and just get to owning my own. And that's kind of like what I took from the learnings from them. I don't know. Sometimes I think, well, maybe I could have done more as an actress, right? We all strategize and think of what's best. But when I look at the careers of my friends and different people, regardless, there's never anything wrong about telling your own story and doing it the way you want to do it. You can only benefit from that, right? And so that's how I became a producer. In terms of writing, I too had a story I wanted to tell. I would just quickly say, I tried to hire 2 men. It was a story of a woman. And I tried to hire 2 of my playwright friends who were men before I eventually wrote it myself. And what I realized was, like, why do I keep undervaluing my own voice? And I think what I want to end with about this question is it's all made up. There are people in the industry who are just sons and daughters, nepotism. There are people who are doing things who just happen to be in the right place at the right time and somebody liked them. And with all the things they were given, anybody could be in that role. I'm not negating skill, but what I've learned over time, whether it's in the industry or in corporate America, is so much of it is made up. So much of it has to do with who are the power people making the decisions. And if you don't say you're worthy yourself, then who else is going to say you are? So for me, I'd much rather spend the time honing the craft on my own and doing what I need to do versus trying to convince you that I should be the one to do it and then learning. So that kind of, to me, is what it is. But we are not foreign as Black women and as women and as people who don't traditionally have their voice in the fore of just doing whatever it takes. And there comes a point when you have a purpose and a desire, whether that was what Dominique wanted to see for her daughter, what you want to see in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and in the world for people regarding literacy and stories and publishing, what I want to see through Damascus. There comes a point where you're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes because this is the plan A. There is no plan. This is my life's work, and somehow I'm going to get it done. Acting, writing, producing, cleaning the bathroom, running errands to Target. I'm going to get it done with the Lord's help. So,
Well, your point about it's all made up resonates with me because Deisha Philyaw yesterday talked about the benefit of access to the industry, access to funds, access to talent. And, that is key for all of us. So on a local level, you all have had access in Pittsburgh. On a local level, I have had access in Cleveland in order to get GLAAW-C off the ground, as well as in Pittsburgh. And Disha talked about the importance of network and community, because there's a community of writers that have supported her over the course of 20 years that allowed her to have the success that she had last year and this year with the Secret Lives of Church Ladies. Let's talk about your communities and how you all have supported each other, given each other access, and vaulted each other to the point of getting productions done.
You can
Shonda,
go
why
first.
don't you start?
Rhonda. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. I'm so overwhelmed. It's such a great point. Whether I was in Pittsburgh, I mean, whether I was in, so I've lived in many places, and that always is true. So when I was in LA, Cornerstone was an ensemble group, really well-known theater company, but they all started in community as Harvard graduates and decided they were going to get in a van and drive to LA and start this company. It just so happened the day they rented the van to drive when they were graduating, someone sent a $15,000 check and it was in the mailbox, and that was the start, right?
wow.
So access to someone who had funds, purpose, a community of people. Launch is one of the most well-known ensembles in theater, right? I think about being in Chicago and the community that is still around me. So starting Damascus, but when I was in Chicago, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I met people there who were beginning Congo Square Theater Company. I was writing their minutes on a napkin. And helping in any way I could. I met Tanika Fales, who was in the business department at the Goodman Theater, but also leading in the leadership of Congo Square, this new startup. Now that company is blown up in Chicago. And I was able to reach back recently to Javon, who's now on Tyler Perry's The Office, and say, bro, can you come teach this class for Damascus, right? Community. He's like, okay, I'm gonna come. What you need me to do, right? The collective itself, now I realize as you're asking me that question, the concept of a collective for me was, how do you build the community that we need? Because really the only thing we're missing is us. We're all out here trying to hustle and get money and get paid and go to the next project, but there's no allegiance as the home base that I was sensing, where you can fail, where you can learn, where you're not ostracized as you're trying to grow. And I really want that and continue to want that to be Damascus. I've been blessed by Dominique and others who've come to the table and said, I want to do this and I want it to be here. Because it's lonely and hard when you're trying to do it on your own. And certainly not as good. And so to have their creative minds, to have their resources, to have, you know, I don't know, I believe Dominique has like a golden touch. Like she came to Damascus, but I'm telling you, the costume woman was like, I'll do it for free. This person, you know, Kim Brown from Spotlight Costumes, just want to shout her out. You know, there are people who were availing themselves to her because she had other communities that now were connected to this community in Damascus, right? My church was my community, and they were like, you can use our space, set up and shoot. This could be your sound stage. For, you know, that type of thing is what makes it possible because we don't traditionally have access. And so it's so critical. And it's also very hard because I think all of us have to do battle with the self, you know, and like, am I truly going to sacrifice and be a part of this collective and like give to it? Or is it more about my own self promotion and movement? And I don't know that either is wrong, which is why there's no real firm restrictions around being a collective member with Damascus. I want people to feel free, but it also gives me the opportunity to know that without dedicated commitment to a community, it's a symbiotic relationship, and everyone has to be willing to come and bring their gifts and take and give and take and give. And so, yeah.
Cool. Dominique, your thoughts?
So I would say that for me, you know, my relationships, it was my relationships with people that helped me here in Pittsburgh. You know, Carla Payne actually introduced me to Shonda.
Okay.
And then Shonda introduced me to an array of other people. And when I say an array, I mean like an array. I mean,
Okay.
even you,
Yes.
right? Even you, right?
Right.
So um so it was it's relationships, I think, that have helped me to get to where I am able to share, um, and to work. And even how Shonda was saying, like Kim Brown and Spotlight Costumes, they have been, that relationship has been a part of, my circle since I was in high school, because they costumed us when I was in high school, and they've just been with me since then. So anytime that I can, bring them into the fold of something, I do, just because they've just been there. And I know that they are just a great partner to have. Same with, Patrice Johnson and Words with Wings. So so for me, it's just a matter of uh, relationships, and relationships keeping relationships special, and holding on to them, because that's honestly, I know for a fact, there's no way I can't do this by myself, even when it comes down to um acting and being in various shows. I mean, you can say, oh yeah, I'm going to go and audition for a show, but even the shows here in Pittsburgh, a lot of times, some of them don't, they take auditions, but sometimes it's, hey, there's a role here that I was thinking about you for. Can you come read for it? I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. And it's just because people know you, or they've heard of you from somebody else that they've talked to. So I think a lot of it is relationships. I think here in Pittsburgh, we have a great Black theater family. And it's a tight theater family, and I appreciate the people here. I honestly, and again, I am thankful for Carla Payne, because she was the one that introduced me to the theater family here in Pittsburgh. So again, I go back to relationships, and the importance of relationships and what they can do.
Yeah, and I just have
I
to
hope that
say,
answered the question.
it definitely did. And the relationships that you're talking about are so multi-layered. I
Mhm.
can talk about, you invoke Carla. Carla and Shonda and I are members of Alpha Kappa Alpha. You are a member of one of our Divine Nine sister sororities as well. So we have
I am.
that connection, right? We have the
Mhm.
creative, artistic connection. We also
Mhm.
have the spiritual connection, because all of us are deeply spiritual beings. And
Mhm.
so, what I appreciate about being in the fold is that we've actually connected. We've worked on solidifying the relationship. These are not transactional relationships.
Yeah.
They are
Right.
very real, they are very holistic, and we
Mhm.
find ways to support each other on a variety of levels. This
Right.
is just not, I need this, I need that. That's not how we operate. There
Mhm.
is a sincere desire to see one another succeed. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to translate that into love. There is love in
Mm.
operation amongst
Yes.
us. And so I
Mhm.
think that has been a critical element in our recipe of success.
Mhm.
So we're going to
Yeah.
have two more questions before we bring this to a close. There was an article in the New York Times just yesterday that dealt with the truth that creatives of color are seldom given the space to be just mediocre, right? We always have to be excellent. We don't have the opportunities to fail. And Shonda, you alluded to that a little bit. Is there benefit to having the space to fail? That's my ultimate question. Then the final question will deal with how hard it is to produce and create. And I want to connect that to the message of that we heard today in RIA. And I want to connect it to a message that Disha Filial delivered yesterday about never giving up. I think that is the theme for GLAAW-C 2020. Never give up.
Never give it up.
So first question, let's deal with the benefit of being able to fail or being mediocre. And is there benefit to it, and what can be the benefit? Shonda, I see you pondering. I'm gonna call on you.
Okay, yes. Yeah, my mind was going into all different places. First of all, it's necessary. Thank God that I went to a school, for grad school, where, you're doing theater and you have the opportunity to mess up. But even then, it's so highly competitive sometimes in programs. And I will just say, at Yale, it was so competitive. There are 8 theater managers, 16 actors, right, from all over. So it was so competitive that even some of the failures that I had were so painful. Literally mentally agonizing because of this expectation to be the best, right? I remember having to go to take an MRI because my skin had broken out in like hives while I was there, or different things were happening. I didn't necessarily find I wasn't sure who my community was. It was very different for me. And so I remember managing the summer cabaret, which was an honor to be chosen to manage it with a great artistic director over the summer. But I also, while I'm travailing this place that David Allen Greer and Meryl Streep had performed, and, in their time, I also felt like I couldn't fail. Like, oh my gosh. And then I ended up failing. We had some challenges that summer. And we failed completely. We had a great season. There were a lot of great things that were done, but, we weren't in the black at the end of the year. It wasn't the perfect summer, and then I also looked at a time when I was like, I really want to bring this show to the stage. I think it's going to be great. Everyone thought it was going to be like a flop, and we ended up selling out. And I remember the dean of the school catching me on the street and being like, who knew? I'm like, I knew. I tried to tell you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so I think that in life, I use those 2 examples because I feel like, one, you need a safe space to be able to experiment. That's really how it's said when it's majority white audience spaces, right? You experiment, you're being innovative. All of that is code for having the freedom, the space, the finances to fail. And so even in the language, I want to, people have such a hard time with that word. And I remember going to a design school at Stanford for a week, and they made us say I failed. They made us yell it repeatedly. I failed. And it was this freeing experience for me because I was just like, oh my gosh, these are people who people would consider geniuses. So of course, if they're giving you permission to fail and they're saying it's required to get to the top of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, there must be something to it. And the other thing I think I want to say is that we can never fail telling our own story. Nobody can ever tell me that I failed at doing what I want to do. Right. I can never tell Dominique she failed at what she wanted to leave for RIA. Because that's what she wanted to leave. That's what she wanted to have be the story. That's what she wanted to leave behind and have as a history. So who am I? Now, I can tell her some technical things like maybe you need better light. But again, now we start getting into money. You need microphones, you need this in order to make this a technical success. Yeah. But I think far too often we've tied technical success and access and those things to success of our story, of our character, of our being, of our humanness, of our dignity. Yeah. You can't tell, I can never fail at that, right? Because if I'm authentically living, I'm never failing, I'm only learning, I'm only growing, I'm only iterating on what the last experience was. Yeah. So, I'm going to pause there, but I think this is why I felt Damascus needed to. That's why I think it's so important to exist. Now I see a lot of people creating collectives and groups, but when I started it, it was like, there needs to be a place where we can just come together and work this out. And we are our greatest resource. So what I don't have, you might have. And even the things that I might not see and where I might fail, you're going to catch it, you know? And so I think I answered what you were asking, but.
Dominique?
So I think in general, we as Black people are not permitted to be mediocre. In theater, if we have a regular 9 to 5, as mothers, we're just not allowed to be mediocre. We always have to be a step above, because if we are not, then we're horrible, or we're just not permitted. It's not permissible for us to be mediocre. And that was actually something that my mother taught me a long time ago. And it's sad and it's unfortunate. I think it's gotten better as time has gotten on, but I still think there are traces, not even traces, it's still there. Like, we are just not, we're not permitted to make mistakes. We're not permitted to be mediocre in our world today, because it's always going to be looked at as a much bigger mistake than our counterparts. So when you put it in, theater perspective or a creative perspective, we're still not permitted to be mediocre or to make a mistake. If I am, that one actor of color with a cast full of performers that do not look like me, if I drop my line that day, then it's like, oh, that I'm the one that looked terrible that day, when my counterpart might have dropped the line the next day, and they're just like, oh, they just must have had a bad day. There are times when we just aren't permitted. We always have to be a step above. Is it fair? No, but is it how it is? It is how it is. And I don't think it's fair, but it's the world that we live in. I think one of the reasons why I appreciate Damascus, and I appreciate the process of this project and this producing partnership that Shonda put me in, is that she allowed me to make mistakes. And it wasn't something where she came back to me and was like, that's it, we can't work together anymore, ever again. We just can't, because this partner, she knew that this was my first time as a producer. I'm going to make mistakes. And she did not crucify me for those mistakes. They were learning experiences, for sure, but she did not crucify me. We talked about those learning experiences, what I could do better the next time, why they were mistakes. And then as we continued to move forward, I understood what the mistake was. But it was all a learning experience versus something that was, Dominique, you totally messed up as this producer, even though it was your first time. That's what I really appreciated about Damascus and about this experience in doing this RIA project with her. I don't know if I would have gotten that same grace if it were with someone else, being a producer, being a first-time producer. I don't know if they would have even cared if I was a first-time producer. So, that's one of the things that I appreciate about this and doing this with her, with our own, because we are, sometimes we can be hard on each other, but but we can also be caring and nurturing. And in this case, Damascus and Shonda she was very much like that in this process, and I appreciated that.
I'm so happy you invoked the word grace, because as you were talking, that's the word that I was hearing. Grace, grace, grace. That's what we give each other. And both of you really touched upon pieces of that New York Times article that began by talking about the experience of Asian Americans in sitcoms. That it's almost been, there were 3 sitcoms that they mentioned, and there were 20 years between each sitcom because of perceived failure, right? And I think we're just not permitted to do that when we deal with the minority culture. And this creates the need, in part, for us to have our own institutions,
Yeah.
which we continue to build. So, my final question as we move to close, again, has to deal with, I almost forgot my last question was. What did I pose to you guys? We want to talk about how difficult things are. No, never giving up. Never giving up.
Yes.
Again, it was a theme that we got to see live and in person in RIA today. It was a theme that was lifted up yesterday by Disha and also Kima. So talk about the resilience the two of you have exercised in making sure that your art comes to pass.
Oh. I mean, I take a deep breath because what first comes to my mind is, all of the accomplishments. I think of the character of commitment, right? I think about Dominique and, her life, graduating from University of Michigan, being a dual degree, having business in her pocket, but all these things, and being accomplished in other areas of her life as well, right? I think there is a level of just drive and commitment that is required in oneself for anything in this world in order for you to keep moving past the barriers that are going to be set before you, particularly as a Black woman. I can honestly say and appreciate everything Dominique shared. I had come to the point with Damascus where I was tired and I felt like I was alone. And I felt like even though people got to celebrate acting in things and being a part, they got to leave. They never had to deal with the budget. They never had to deal with people calling me mad or bringing craft services, right? So I'm producing, but I'm running for lunches and I'm doing this. And then people were like, yay, we did this great thing. But at the end of the day, I was by myself in the decision making and the this and all of the different pieces and the finding the money and the paying of people. And so for me, I'm grateful for Dominique. I'm grateful for Okeem. I'm grateful for Patrice. I'm grateful for Amanda. I'm grateful for you, Leah. Other people have come on to say, even when you feel like quit, I'm going to hold up your arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, Aaron, I'm going to hold up when you're feeling, and then when I'm feeling like that, you can hold up my arms. And I think that it goes back to this piece around community. It goes back to, it goes back to Yale when we were there. You were in the debate school, I'm in the drama school, but there was a relationship. There's that word. There was a community that we built, and it enabled us to get through whatever we were going through in our individual spheres on that campus. And so I think that, I really can keep this short. At the end of the day, never giving up a bit has to do with your character, but it also a bit has to do with when you lean on people, they don't crumble, right? This trust that I can lean on someone else and they're not going to fall apart. And that's a real thing, because I think oftentimes we're so used to leaning on things and then our marriage fall apart, leaning on this person and that relationship don't work. Saying we love Black sisters, but then you lean on a Black sister and it's not a safe space sometimes, right? It can be anything. And I don't mean to air us out, but I'm really saying we have to accept all that and give ourselves grace that, in time you will learn to trust more. In time you will learn who you can trust. In time you will be able to categorize people. Today, I would just close like this question by saying, the pastor of my church was preaching and he said there are 4 kinds of people. It's parasites, pawns, partners, and projects. And I think many times in my life, it wasn't just that I was giving up. It was that I was hurt. I relied on people who were really just parasites to be partners. I relied on people who were really pawns, who were just people who distract you from getting to your thing, the king. Pawns to be projects that I spent a lot of time on. I allowed things that should have just been projects to align themselves and be my partners. Like, I've miscategorized things.
Got it.
And so while I look at it like the world has often done that to us and miscategorized and not provided resources, and all those things are true, and systemic ways in which we are challenged, I also now look forward to say, in what ways can I take that information and not give up when I'm met with it, because I'm better equipped to recognize what is good ground and what is not, who to partner with and who not, how to learn from the experiences to move on, because there's people who need the stories. There's people who need GLAAW-C. There's people who need Rhea, the Great. There's children being born who need to pick up books like Little Lumpy and Rhea and all these pieces, so that we can say we were here and we did this work for you, not just for ourselves.
Ooh, all right, Shonda. Dominique, come on.
I don't even know how to come after that. I'm like, all right, this was beautiful. Thank you. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
Well, Shonda Miles McDill, you have the last word. Ladies, I have to tell you, anytime I'm in your presence is a blessing and a thrill. And I'm happy to be in partnership with you through GLAAW-C and through Damascus Theater Collective. And I'm excited to see what we are going to do, because we are what? We're not going to give up. Okay?
That's right. Not at all. That's the theme. That's what I tell my daughter. Like, we don't give up. We don't. We will have tough moments, but we just keep going.
That's it. We got to press on.
That's right.
All right. Shonda, Erica, Miles McDill, Dominique Dobson Briggs. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Leah.
Yes. My girl.
It's nothing but love. It's nothing but love.
Yeah. Yes, love you very much.
Love you so much.
Both. All right, we'll be in touch. Now, see you soon. Thanks for joining us for GLAAW-C 2021.
Love you.
See you in 23.
We're doing
22
it.
and 20.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you have enjoyed Rhea, the great detective in the case of the missing Miss Barrington, and the producers roundtable that included Shonda, Erica, Miles McDill, and Dominique Dobson Briggs. This brings GLAAW-C 2021 to a close. We hope to see you next year. Be sure to check out our website. Join our mailing list for announcements throughout the year. Feel free to donate using our PayPal QR code, which is available on the screen now. Take a picture of it with your smartphone or visit our website where you can do the same. This work takes resources, both human and financial. We're grateful for the creative capital. We're grateful for the capital provided by our sponsors and our supporters. And again, I hope you enjoyed yourself. In the coming days, the coming weeks, and then throughout the year, our content for GLAAW-C 2021 will be made available on our website. The content for GLAAW-C 2020 is there now, so you can go back and check out what we did last year and how we continue to build our program. As we go out, you will see a slide from our sponsors, so you will know who they are. We have funders both in Cleveland and in Pittsburgh, for whom we are greatly, greatly appreciative and deeply indebted. To all of the presenters for GLAAW-C 21, I thank you. I thank you from the depths of my soul for your contribution to this conference. What we intend to do is to eliminate knowledge deficits for individuals who seek to write, whether they want to create literature, whether they want to write screenplays, whatever it is you want to write, whether you want to become a journalist. We want to support you in that endeavor by making sure that you have what you need. And that's not just information, but it's also inspiration. So thank you for attending GLAAW-C 2021, and I do hope to see you next year. Take care Be well, and God bless.
About 2 years ago,